Hey everybody, welcome back to the Triple C Collective. Here is Sunday. It's going to be our first episode of anything we dropped on a Sunday. It's going to be Book of Boba Fett. Sunday is really going to be our kind of like sci-fi fantasy kind of like theme day, if you will. If Tuesdays are dedicated to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we have Fridays that are dedicated to like creature features. We've got Saturdays dedicated to superheroes. Sundays will be like our sci-fi fantasy, space and all that kind of stuff. A little bit. So what we're going to start with today is Star Wars, Book of Boba Fett. I am super excited for this. I got really excited about Book of Boba Fett once it was announced that Robert Rodriguez was really attached to it, because otherwise, when it comes to like my Star Wars like fandom and like love and stuff, like I've always thought Boba Fett was cool, but I've never found him to be like a top tier character. To be absolutely fair, my opinion of that totally comes strictly based off what we saw in the films, because I never really read like any of the like expanded universe books where like they like tell you that he escapes the Sarlacc pit and blah 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 and like all of that. I've never read any of those. I don't really have much like in-depth knowledge about any of that stuff, short of like little tidbits and stuff. So for me, seeing more of seeing more of the character of Boba Fett, and with the creative team of Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and Robert Rodriguez, like I was so in for this. And for a first episode, I really liked it. I thought it was really cool. It answered a bunch of questions. Like, this is quick overview before I kind of dive in. My like just quick little thoughts about it. I really liked it. This made me excited for a story about somebody. This kind of gave me a little bit of the same feeling that I had with the Mandalorian. Person story didn't really know anything about, really didn't have any love or hate for it, so like I was just kind of here to be told a cool new story in that sense. And for me, I thought I got that. And there's no other way than to just dive into the episode now. Like right off the bat, we got the new like Lucasfilm limited opening logos that we get with all the different helmets and stuff. But we also, something that I don't know if I might have missed it for Mandalorian. I didn't rewatch The Mandalorian or anything like that before, like previous to Book of Boba Fett or the couple of episodes that Boba Fett shows up in Mandalorian. Didn't do any of that before this. Just watching Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett straight from what they're giving us on screen for this first time. So I was really excited about this. I really liked it. And one of the first things after we see all those different helmets is that we see the Star Wars in that yellow, and this one has almost like a little gold. It kind of flashes like a yellow gold, like metallic yellow almost, which I really love, because that totally was like, oh man, I'm back in Star Wars. And like, as much as I loved the Bad Batch, and as much as I love Clone Wars season like 7, there's something about live action Star Wars that I still just love it. Like I am not knocking those animated shows or anything like that. Those shows are fantastic, and it's because of those shows it's really kind of like relaunched my love of Star Wars in a lot of ways, because I was really disappointed with the prequel trilogy when I first saw it. I was not on board with it, and it almost in a lot of ways it broke me in my Star Wars fandom. I just didn't like it. Ended up watching Clone Wars, and it totally rejuvenated like my love of it. It made me appreciate the prequels more, because it totally expands them, and it doesn't necessarily connect like a whole bunch of dots, but it makes that time a lot cooler and a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. Or the interesting makes it more fun is really how it goes. And so like because of that, I got way back into Star Wars, and then like I watched Rebels and I loved it. Stoked for the sequel trilogy that we got, like starting with Force Awakens and stuff. Love it. And then we got Mandalorian, and Mandalorian was really cool. Out of anything of the new stuff from Force Awakens on of the like Mandalorian was really cool in every sense of the word. But getting back to Book of Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, like the cold opening that we have is like 10 minutes long, but it's great. It sets up the world pretty good. Like right away we see like inside outside shots of the palace. We get clear flashbacks of Boba Fett on Kamino, which was wild. I wasn't expecting to see a shot of Kamino. I wasn't expecting to see like them to really pull like from Attack of the Clones, like in the believe it's Attack of Clones, in the prequel trilogy where we see Jango Fett, where we see Boba pick up Jango Fett's helmet. That was wild to see this intercut with Boba Fett laying in the Bacta pod, like to heal himself. And so like, it was crazy. And then of course, the one thing that we get is we also finally get the big question that everybody has been asking since Boba Fett showed up in Mandalorian season 2 is how did he get out of the Sarlacc pit? And we see it. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was I mean, I don't want to say simple in the fact that like it was an easy like workaround. I thought what they showed us was a simple explanation that totally made sense. I had no problems with what I saw there. At no point, like I know a lot of people love Boba Fett. A lot of people love him and hold him like really on this huge high pedestal. If anything, I think what we saw on screen, so what we see is Boba Fett is in the stomach of the Sarlacc and catches a glimpse as he's like looking around, like wakes up in there, catches a glimpse of something, puts down his monitor, sees or his radar or whatever, sees that he can, or sees a stormtrooper, goes over there, takes the stormtrooper's oxygen, starts breathing in some oxygen, gets some breath going, and then he punches through the wall and just starts burning his way up. And then we get a shot of the outside, like outside top of the Sarlacc pit. You see the Sarlacc pit and Jabba is busted up floating barge, whatever you wanted to call it. Kind of destroyed there in the background as well. And we see Boba Fett climb out of the desert, climb himself out from like beside the Sarlacc pit, and it's great. So all of this is awesome. Like the whole opening, again, the explanation of what they showed us for Boba Fett was really great. I had no problem with it. I thought it was really cool. It gave us a lot of really great shots. The cinematographer of this episode is Dave Klein. Started out working with Kevin Smith on Clerks, way back in 1993. So that's crazy. But like it's shot really well. I love the shots that they do. I love Robert Rodriguez. Robert Rodriguez did El Mariachi. He's done the Spy Kids, franchise. He's done it in Sin City. He's done so much more than I'm sure. Like Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Great. All of them did one half of the Grindhouse movie with Quentin Tarantino. Gem. Awesome. And seeing his take on Star Wars, and in particular a character that Robert Rodriguez has said that he has always loved in Boba Fett, it's really cool to see this episode shot and like produced by a bunch of Star Wars fans again, just like Mandalorian has been. And I just loved it. I have loved the first 10-15 minutes of this episode. Um, but back to even all before the credits is that we're still not even done. He gets out of the Sarlacc pit. He passes out. Jawa steal his gear because of course Jawa steal his gear. Like if you're not, of course the Jawa steal his gear. He tries to put up a little bit of a fight. They knock him out. Then Tusken Raiders find him and lead him back to their Tusken camp. And at first he's walking, and then he gets dragged, and then we get the once he gets to like the camp, the Tuskens are like standing above him, and then we get a classic of what I call a classic Robert Rodriguez shot, and it gets really grainy. And if you guys have ever seen Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror, his half of the Grindhouse movie, he has that same grain like film filter or whatever effect like in on that, and he uses it specifically to go out of what we find out to be a dream, because then we get the title sequence, we get back and we see Fennec waking up Boba Fett from his back to pod saying like, hey, they're here. And oh man, what a way to open an episode. I loved it. I was in from the beginning here just because of the creative team behind it. Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Robert Rodriguez. I was here. I was in for it just for them. Because again, like I said, like I will watch at this point, like I will watch everything that they put out for Star Wars. I'm super stoked for the Ahsoka series. I'm insanely excited to see what this Obi-Wan series is about. And I think for most people that it's a lot of Star Wars fans, like I'm sure we're all excited for a bunch of different stuff, but I think we're all keeping an eye on Obi-Wan. I think we're all it's going to be wild. Super excited for that. And I know nothing else about that show. Other than the little making of trailer that they dropped for that. But back to Book of Boba Fett. The cold open, man, I loved it because it answered a lot of questions very quickly. Like how to get out of the Sarlacc pit, what happened to him, and you were kind of like they were kind of connecting the dots for you that way. I really loved it. And then after the title sequence, we're still with Boba Fett and the Tuskens. We see him actually like living among the Tusken. I mean, he's really a prisoner. He's tied up to a stake next to a Rodian. And so while he's there, Boba tries to escape, tries to get the Rodian to come with him. The Rodian actually doesn't want to go or doesn't like trust Boba, whatever. Starts like squealing and sounding an alarm, and then the Tuskens go after Boba. Starts running out. He starts running out like towards the open desert. A Tusken kid tries to like stop him, and Boba doesn't kill the Tusken kid. He just kind of like de-weapons the Tusken kid, and then just kind of moves on. And then he makes it out to the desert. He gets a wall of like the Tusken leaders and warriors there. I can only assume their top warrior goes out and faces him, beats Boba, brings him back, and that's where we actually get the like that dissolve is that I was talking about. We get that. Then Fennec wakes him up, saying that get dressed. People are here to pay tribute. Boba getting dressed is awesome. Boba also says that the dreams are coming back, which is where we get the seeing the Camino stuff, seeing Jango's helmet, and all of that we saw in the Tusken, everything from the Sarlacc pit, all of that stuff in the cold open, other than him being in the back to pod, has all clearly like happened previously. It's all flashback, which is really cool and interesting. Again, I have been loving this so far. Then we get the whole paying tribute and the mayor delegation scene. And this is something that's really great. I have to call out the actor because he's so good. The who plays the mayor's Doma, I believe is what he says, and his name is David pa- Pascazzi. Pascazzi, and he is hilarious. He is so good. He steals the scene, and he's fantastic. He's just amazing, and I can't say enough about, in particular, his portion of the tribute scene, because otherwise, like, it's a lot of people just coming up, dropping money off to him, like being like, hey, we get it, you're in charge, we're not looking to upset anything, we want to keep it going, we're going to keep you happy, that's fine. There is one person before the mayor's delegate shows up that Boba leans over to Fennec and is like, I used to work for him. Do you know how weird this is? Fennec just responds, do you know how weird it is for him? And let me say, Ming Wen, she's great. She's so good. Um, it, Fantastic. She's great. Her role as Fennec is amazing. I've loved every little bit of seeing her in The Mandalorian and now in Book of Boba Fett and stuff, and her being like Boba's right hand is awesome. Is awesome. I love it. I love it all. Um, then we get where is so going back to the mayor delegate. Where is the mayor? Much apologies. Sorry about the correspondence and how one might have thought that the mayor was going to be here, but he isn't. I'm here. I'm his Doma, and then the delegate, the Doma for the mayor, says, "What about tribute?" And Boba's like, "Well, you said that you didn't bring anything, and that whatever." And Finnick's like, no, 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 no. He, the mayor's delegate, wants tribute from you to him. He wants you to pay him. And Boba's like, I'm confused. I'm the crime lord. He's supposed to pay me. And Finnick's like, well, can I kill him? No, we can't. And Boba's like, no, we can't kill him. He works for the mayor. We let him go back to the mayor, and that's it. And Fennec says that, as a gift to you and to the mayor, we let you go unmolested. And the delegate Doma is like, oh, thank you. The mayor may not see that this way, but I thank you, and I appreciate you letting me leave like that. And it's, oh God, it's so good. I probably didn't do that scene justice. It's so funny, but there is such a great undertone of tension that is being built there. Like, I would be willing to say, for the most part, a lot of like the villain maybe to Boba Fett and Fennec this season will be said mayor. Just based on, because then as the delegate Doma leaves, he says, I would not be surprised if you receive another delegation from the mayor. And then he just leaves and they go on. Then we get the Gamorrean guards, which I love these guys. I love seeing them in Jedi. Like, they're just, I love creatures. I love creatures. I love the fact that those are probably, like, I guess, stunt actors or actors in suits to some degree. I don't think that those were complete, like, CGI characters. However, maybe not. Maybe they really were just wearing, like, a plain colored suit and then it all built it. I don't know. But it looked like they were in some sort of, like, suit or prosthetic makeup. I don't know. There was just a certain look to it that I think that it had that made me think of that. Then, after all of the tribute with the Doma, the Boba, Fennec, and the Gamorrean guards. Well, Boba and Fennec actually before that have a little bit of a like a little bit of an argument in the fact that Fennec thinks that Boba should kill the Gamorrean guards, and Boba wants to try and rule a new way, not by fear but by respect. He says it a couple of times, and he decides to let the Gamorrean guards. He says, "If I let you guys live, will you be loyal to me like you were loyal to your previous, previous rulers, head of honcho, like the people that we were talking about that these Gamorrean guards worked for before, were Jabba the Hutt and Bib Fortuna. So, like, they were loyal to them. Why wouldn't they continue to be loyal to Boba if Boba lets them live and continue to do their job that they were doing before? Why not, right? And they agree. They bend the knee, if you will, to reference Game of Thrones a little bit here. Boba, Fennec, and the guards walk into the city. Fennec, makes mention that, the people of the city are used to seeing Jabba on a litter, being like paraded around if he was even leaving his palace. You should really, if you accept their ways, things might go more smoothly for you. And then they make it to inside the cantina to meet Madame Garza. And this is a really great scene because it's another cantina on Tatooine. They're at Mos Espa, I believe, if I was following it correctly. And it has the good music. It has like familiar. It has a familiar feel and look. It has one of the original cantina like band members. It has the little blue like elephant looking guy, almost like the mini elephant almost looking guy, blue looking guy. And he's there. They're playing music and stuff. Like, it's really great. It really felt something very much so like, the original cantina scene from, Star Wars, New Hope. Or even, I also really like the cantina scene-esque scene that we got in Force Awakens as well. So, I don't know. I love a good cantina scene. So, and Mandalorian, littered with them. There's literally too many to say. But then that's not a bad thing. That's a lot of what bounty hunter. He's a bounty hunter. Beside the point now. Back to Book of Boba Fett. I love it. I also loved that Boba also kind of flips what Fennec has been saying of like things would go smoother if you accepted, the other people's ways, and he says that to her in the fact that let Madame Garza's people, like, shine your helmet, clean it, and then, give it back to you. And when they get their helmets back, Boba's is very shiny with all the gold and silver pieces that he is owed as the crime lord. Because him and the madam, they talk. He says, I'm taking over. I just want to make sure everything's going to continue to go smoothly for you. And the madam absolutely agrees. Was like, oh, I would have done a bit more for you to, like, had I known you were coming. And it's a really great scene. They leave. Again, Boba Fett like reiterates to Fennec that he wants to rule. Jabba ruled with fear. He wants to rule with respect. And then they have an attack in the city streets. And now this attack, we can only assume, I assume, based on what we saw or what we heard from the Doma of the mayor, that this is the other delegation from the mayor. Because Boba's walking openly in the streets. Because at this point, leaving Madame Garsa's place, he and Fennec, Boba Fett and Fennec, are just walking in the streets. We don't really see the Gamorrean guards behind him, or like in frame of the couple of shots that we see. So they could be trailing behind or whatever it is. And they get attacked. They're surrounded by 6 different guards that have these like red, basically, if you remember in the Phantom Menace, when Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul are behind the barriers, it looks like these shields are made of like whatever laser barrier that is, because they try and punch it and they get like pushed back from it. Fennec tries to run and jump on it, can't really do that to like jump out of there. They're getting beat up with, like, I can only describe it as taser swords. It's probably because it's got like electricity running through it, but they're like swords and they're swinging it down and everything, and it's so cool, it's so good. This is a really great fight, and this is a really great fight, different than what we saw with like the cold opening or even with the Tusken Raider stuff earlier. Like, this is a full-on Fennec Boba Fett fight. Eventually the 2 Gamorrean guards show up, break that circle, and the 4 of them are able to defeat those 6 people, that were around them. 4 of them get taken out, 3 run away. Boba Fett blows up one of them with his, the rocket that he shoots out of his little like wristlet or whatever. I shouldn't say a wrestler. Beside the point. Shoots out a rocket, destroys a building, and blows a dude up and stuff, all in the same thing. It's pretty gnarly. It's pretty friggin' gnarly if I'm gonna be honest. It's pretty great. And so then Fennec goes off after him. Boba's like, "Bring me one alive." We're taking one alive. And so Fennec goes off, and this is a great, crazy looking like set piece, like parkour kind of running sequence, and it's great. And Fennec eventually gets, like the whole sequence is great, ending with Fennec and the 2 guards, and she has them basically de-armed, and she's got one with her sword or one of their sword, like taser swords, up to their neck. She kicks one off the ledge and then goes to the other one, because she looks at both of them in the eye and is like, I can break this one basically, so I'm going to keep him. Kicks the other one off. And then as she went off on that whole sequence, Boba Fett and the guards take Boba Fett back to his bacta tank. Once he's back in the pod and it's all like filled up and stuff for him, he starts dreaming again, and he's back with the Tusken Raiders. And this is one of the coolest parts of the entire thing, because we see him back with the Tusken at the Tusken camp. He's still tied up. A Tusken Raider kid, goes and takes him, the rodent, and let's call it a dog, a sand dog, and goes and takes them out into the desert. They eventually go. They figure out, or Boba Fett tries to figure out why he's being dragged out into the desert by this kid with the rodent and the dog. And eventually there's little pods that they drink water out of. I mean, it almost looks like a nut of some kind, like a sand nut. And you can drink water out, or you get water out of it. And so that's what they're doing. They're digging those up to bring back to the camp for everybody else and stuff. As they're going through it, Boba the rodent finds a whole bunch of them, but doesn't drink from them. Boba Fett finds one, starts drinking from it. The Tusken kid takes it from him and dumps it out into the sand. But when the Tusken kid tries to beat Boba Fett with the weapon, Boba Fett catches it and is like, "Easy, youngling. I just need a drink of water." It's really good, really smooth. Um, like because like he's not gonna beat up this kid. Kid's just doing what he's told. He's a little kid. Um, which side note might be, um, I don't know. I don't know. But so he's not Boba Fett's not gonna beat up the kid, in any way, shape, or at least doesn't show us that he wants to beat up the kid in any way, shape, or form. Um, and then continues to dig, and eventually there is the creature attack. And oh my god, this creature is great. It is a mixture of three looking things. It has, clearly a tail that is very reptilian, dragon like, lizard like, Godzilla like, whatever you want to call it. The legs, I would say, kind of look elephant-y in the fact that they're very round, and it didn't look like they had actual like toes. It kind of looked like how an elephant's foot looks. So I'd say it has legs of an elephant, tail of any lizard dragon that you can imagine. It has the torso of Goro, the four arms from Mortal Kombat, and it's got the head of any kind of standard lizard, any kind of round-headed lizard, I should say, because it has a very round head. Actually, if you saw Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, the lizard, kind of looks roundish, like that lizard type face. I mean, it's just a round lizard face. It looks a lot different than like what we saw in there, but it's a round lizard face. If you wanted some sort of comparison, if for whatever reason you haven't already if you haven't already watched Book of Boba Fett and then you're watching this, I don't know I'm sorry, I've spoiled so much for you. But they have a great fight with this. The rodent gets destroyed, just power punched straight into the sand, and just like it's just like caved in. You can only assume, because they only show like the arms and like part of the head from this. Like, it's a vicious, brutal attack from this like sand creature. And oh, you know what? As I'm looking back at my notes, getting ready to move on to the next one here, I also made a note. The head of the reptile, the sand reptile here, kind of has a resemblance of here's a better comparison. A combination of Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man's lizard, so that's Rife Ians, I think is how you say his name. He was Luna Lovegood's dad in the Harry Potter series, in those movies, as well. That's probably where a lot more people might know him from. Beside the point. If you mix that with the creature from The Shape of Water's head, that's kind of how this looks, with some more scales, basically. More reptilian scales on it. The creature battle is wild. It is absolutely insane. It's so cool. The kid like stabs the creature in the foot to try and distract him, to like allow Boba Fett like relief from getting beat up. Because again, earlier in the episode, every time Boba Fett hasn't actually hurt the kid, and that's why the kid at this point comes to help Boba Fett, because he actually hasn't. Boba Fett actually hasn't hurt the kid. He might have insulted the kid or whatever, but he actually hasn't hurt the kid, hasn't done the kid any harm, and hasn't seemed to be an evil guy towards this kid. So the kid stabs this creature in the foot to try and give Boba Fett a reprieve, and it's really just all he needs. The kid kind of gets like tossed backwards a little bit, and then the creature kind of comes after him. Boba Fett's able to climb on top of the back of the creature, get the chain around the creature's neck, and then chokes that creature out. And it's awesome. And the Boba Fett holds up the chain in front of himself, and then the kid kind of like nods, and the next thing we see is the dog, Boba Fett, and the kid come running out of like the horizon of the desert there, coming out of like, let's call it a sandstorm, or what could be the remnants or the soon to be coming sandstorm. And they have the head of the creature. The chain, you can kind of see, looks like it has some sort of razor portion to it almost, so it looks like you can almost kind of cut through it, cut through anything with it. And so they did, and they bring it back, and it's really great. The Tusken kid is running around with the head of the creature and stuff, and man, it's great. You can only imagine the kid is telling the story like, and then they were digging for the water over there, and then this creature came out, and we killed it, and look at it, there's the head. And it's great. None of the Tusken Raiders, not a single one of them, go after Boba Fett. They all leave him be. And you see one of the two, you can only assume one of two leaders, because you see from before, you see one of the two people that were like talking. Tusken, you can only, I assume that this is a Tusken leader, because this person offers Boba Fett water from one of the little nutshell thingies that we saw earlier that he was digging for. Offer him water, and then we get a cut to black. The way that I say it's a Tusken leader here that offers him water, because when we see him get chased, or when he runs out into the desert and then fights the Tusken warrior, you see two Tuskens kind of come out of the same tent that are both standing into the middle, and then this warrior is, to the left of one of them. And so it just made me feel like it was a king and queen, or like, ruler in that sense of their tribe there. And it was one of, and if not the head, one of, the elders, if you will. That might be a better way to describe it. One of the elders of the Tuskens offers Boba Fett water, and then we cut to black. And I loved it. This episode was so good. I am so excited now for, I believe there's 7 episodes of Book of Boba Fett. So now for the next 6 weeks, every Sunday we're gonna get our review here of Book of Boba Fett. And then after Book of Boba Fett, we are going to release our Star Wars Visions. And so for the next few weeks on Sundays, come check us out here at the Triple C Collective. I'm Jimmy Clark. Thank you for joining us today. May the Force be with you.